This here is really, some of the people here are part of our group here at Jesu. We call it the Jesu Sanctuary Committee. But those that are members that come monthly to the potlucks, you can, if you raise your hand. So what we do is we meet every month on the fourth Wednesday. We start with food, and then by 7 o'clock we have our business meeting. Over the course of the years, Cesar and Carmen, Cesar Cuellar. Cesar is an immigrant from El Salvador and is applying for asylum. And we've had guest speakers, and I think, who was just speaking? Bill, where's Bill? And
Bill's back there.
Bill, those that were at the border. Bill, why don't you just say a word about what you did a couple of weeks ago here, just to educate, just a word.
Okay, so I'm Bill Hickey, and my wife Billy and I were one of maybe 4 or 5 people from Jesu Church who went down to the southern border. A number of us went to El Paso, and at least one went to McAllen. And so we worked in the shelters there, helping to extend a welcome and whatever material help we could to people who were coming across the border to request asylum. And the people we met were people of good faith, people who were fleeing lots of violence, people who were fleeing lots of enforced poverty, people who don't meet any of the kinds of descriptions that we hear from our current administration. And we all experience that the people on the border in El Paso, McAllen, the other southern border towns have a far different view of the border than we do, far from the border, and that they are giving of themselves in a most amazing way, 24 hours a day, day after day after day, sometimes receiving up to 700 or 1,000 people a day released by ICE to move on to their families that are awaiting them in the U.S. as they travel that journey of seeking asylum. So.
Great, thank you, Rob. So Amy and Sister Micah, why don't you come forward? Let's give them a round of applause. Amy Shannon comes all the way from Chicago. Okay. And Sister Magda from Mexico. So I'll introduce, first I'm going to introduce Amy, and then she can introduce Sister Magda. But Amy, I'll pass around, if it's okay with everybody. Amy's going to pass around a sign-up sheet for Alianza Americas, and if you sign that, then automatically you can be part of Strangers No Longer, which is here in Detroit. Strangers No Longer, most of you know, but just a word, Strangers No Longer is an informal network of Catholics in parishes. And in some cases, it might be a team like Jesu. We have like 30 people on our team. Over at St. Regis, they have 15 pastors very deeply involved. Saints John and Paul up in Romeo, they've got about 20, and they organized a gathering today of about 50 people, but from 10 different parishes. So that St. John and Paul, they actually went out and got people from St. Irenaeus and 10 other parishes. Other places like Divine Child and Dearborn are just getting started. And if anyone here, and I think Our Lady of Sorrows, I think they're trying...
Yeah, I read that in the bulletin 2 Sundays ago.
Okay, so if anyone here is part of a parish or part of the Capuchins or Secular Franciscans, if you'd like to start a little group, 2 people, 3 people, so that we are building a network of people that are trying to live out the Catholic tradition. So anyway, we welcome you, Amy. Amy can describe Alianza Americas, and Amy's, at our request, is going to pass out envelopes if someone would like to make a free will donation. Checks to Ali, it's self-explanatory. Amy, this group Alianza Americas, I'm very excited about because they're not just in the United States. They are in both Central America, Latin America, and in the United States. And so, Amy, I'd like you just to, if you could explain that and then introduce Sister Magda.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
coming.
Thank you.
So Alianza Americas is, and it's actually sounds like Spanish and hard to pronounce, but it's actually very simple. Alianza, like one alliance, Americas, all the Americas, right? Push it together, Alianza Americas. We are a network of immigrant-led organizations, Latin American Caribbean immigrant-led organizations all over the U.S. We have members in 13 states. We would like to have members in Michigan, so that's part of our goal to be here, is to see if we can get to know some of the organizations, the new organizations of Latin American immigrants. But we are an organization that came together essentially because we identified that there were lots of really amazing local organizing going on in Latin American immigrant communities. People doing everything from gathering up funds for their own hometowns to build a new church or to put in a water system or whatever was needed, to organizations that were providing much needed legal services for people, to organizations that were doing self-help for women victims of domestic violence, but that they had one thing in common, or several things in common. One is that they were often incredibly under-resourced. The other one is that many of them were Spanish first folks, so they really did better if they could get information in Spanish. And there wasn't a lot of that at the time, 15 years ago when we got this started. And the third thing was that they were getting smacked down at the policy level. So they wanted to figure out how they could do advocacy together in a way that didn't make it so that every little teeny group had to do advocacy. So what could be the supports for that? So we came in, we started helping with an shared advocacy platform on issues that we all care about: protection, keeping kids safe, getting a good education, all sorts of things that we all care about. We started helping with leadership training and capacity building, and we started realizing that what we needed to do was educate policymakers and the U.S. public about what's going on in Latin America, in these countries of origin that are expelling so many people right now due to the conditions there. So we started doing delegations. We take people down to Latin America to learn things. About to take some members of Congress down pretty soon, hopefully. And we also do learning tours. And so we were extremely delighted because Sister Magda is a rock star, and she is the head of the largest shelter in Mexico. It's the Women and Children's Shelter Cafemin in Mexico City, but she's also the head of the shelter network, of the large group of shelters that goes all the way from the southern border all the way to the northern border, trying to give people refuge along the migration route. Last time when the caravans came in October, she was working day and night so much that she spent the next week in the hospital with pneumonia. So when she said she could spare a week to come to the U.S., we said, yes, 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 and we'll figure it out. And then that day that she said yes, I happened to be in a meeting with Bill, and he said, okay, come on, Michigan. You guys always go to Chicago, you go to Washington, D.C. How about some love for Michigan? So we said, all right, we'll get 2 days out of the 5 that she's going to be here, we're going to go to Michigan. So we're doing that. I'm really happy to have Hermana Magda speak with you because she is really right on the front line, seeing all the people, all the women and children in her own shelter, as well as really having her eye on the policy issues all across Mexico and Central America. So please, Hermana Magda, I'm also then going to interpret for her.
Gracias por recibirnos, por recibirme, y a nombre también de muchos migrantes, de muchos hombres, mujeres, familias, niños, adolescentes, jóvenes que vienen, que salen de sus países con el sueño de llegar a los Estados Unidos y creer que su vida puede cambiar.
Thank you for welcoming me, and thank you also on behalf of so many men, women, children, entire families who are having to leave their countries but are trying to get to the United States because of the dream that they could have a better life.
Estamos trabajando en 126 albergues, casas, donde acogemos a estas personas en México.
We're working in 126 shelters, shelters and safe houses across Mexico where we take care of these people, these migrants.
Son los albergues, las casas que atiende la Iglesia Católica Mexicana.
This is the network of shelters that is managed by the Catholic Church in Mexico.
Somos muchas mujeres, hombres, jóvenes que nos hemos dado a la tarea de acoger, de acompañar y de atender a estas migraciones masivas. Les llamamos éxodos o caravanas.
We are a large number of men, women, volunteers, young people who have dedicated ourselves to taking care of this large group of people, which we call an exodus, and others call caravans.
Desde las fronteras sur, centro y fronteras norte, vamos acompañando, vamos monitoreando cómo van avanzando estas caravanas, estos éxodos.
From all the way from Mexico's southern border into the central region and all the way to the northern border, we accompany the migrants, we walk with them, we monitor their progress and see how they are moving across the Mexican territory.
Aparte del flujo normal de todos los días, son dos flujos migratorios que ahorita están circulando por todo lo largo del país.
There are two large migrant flows that are moving through Mexico at this point.
Estas caravanas, éxodos, pero también la migración que sale de sus países todos los días.
On the one hand, you have the large mass exoduses, the caravans, but at the same time there is another large flow that's just the normal flow of people having to leave their countries and are moving through Mexico.
Aproximadamente el número que tenemos registrados de este flujo migratorio son entre 26 y 30,000 personas.
We believe there are about 26,000 to 30,000 people currently in transit in Mexico,
Distribuidos por todo el país.
distributed along the migration route across the country.
En las zonas sur, la entrada de Guatemala, México, en este momento más o menos 2,000, 3,000 personas están detenidas.
There are about between 2,000 and 3,000 people who are currently detained on the southern border with Guatemala.
Con este nuevo gobierno que tenemos en México, les prometió una visa para que pudieran transitar sin peligro, con seguridad y llegar a la frontera norte.
The current government had promised these people a transit visa so that they could move through Mexico towards their destination in the United States more securely.
A la primera caravana, en octubre, sí pudieron obtener esta tarjeta.
During the first caravan in October, those migrants were able to obtain that humanitarian visa.
Y por eso están en la frontera norte,
So those are the ones who are now stuck at the northern border.
Tijuana, Piedras Negras, pero ahí se toparon con un muro.
But when they got there, they crashed up against a wall.
Y ahí están, resistiendo.
And there they are, they're resisting, they're hanging in.
Mujeres, familias completas, niños, adolescentes, solos.
Women, small children, women with children, children by themselves, many adolescents.
Una organización internacional, OIM,
The International Organization for Migration, which is a UN agency,
hace el trabajo del Instituto Nacional de Migración, de los agentes de migración, y está deportando a mucha gente, está regresando a sus países a mucha gente.
is essentially doing the work of the Mexican migration authorities, and they are deporting many, many people, sending them back to their countries of origin.
Sabemos, porque ellos nos cuentan, nos platican, que son personas que no pueden regresar a sus países porque su vida peligra.
And we know that these are people that really cannot be sent back to their countries of origin because their lives are in immediate danger.
Ustedes saben, conocen las causas del por qué la gente está saliendo miles y miles todos los días de estos países centroamericanos.
You all know the reasons why people, thousands and thousands of people, are leaving from these countries in Central America.
La pobreza, la violencia, son lo que los están orillando a salir.
Poverty and violence are forcing them to leave.
Nuestros gobiernos, tanto de esos países como de México y el de Estados Unidos, manejan un discurso, nos están dando un mensaje que estas personas están saliendo de sus países y que son criminales.
Our governments, and this includes all the governments of Central America, the Mexican government, as well as the US government, are feeding us a series of messages saying that these people are leaving their country because they're criminals.
Así como en un principio del gobierno de Donald Trump decía que los mexicanos éramos unos violentos y violadores.
Just like at the beginning of the Trump administration, President Trump referred to Mexicans as criminals and rapists.
Ahora eso mismo dice de estos pueblos centroamericanos.
He's now saying the same thing about the Central Americans.
Sabemos que esto no es cierto,
We know this is not true,
sino es justificar políticas migratorias inhumanas
it is just being used to justify inhumane migration policies.
y que solamente busca, voy a decirles un dicho que hace mucho tiempo yo le escuché a un maestro, a propósito jesuita, sociólogo.
I'm going to share with you an old saying that I heard years ago from a sociologist professor who's a Jesuit.
Y decía que los gobiernos norteamericanos querían la riqueza de nuestros países, pero no a sus personas.
And that saying was that the United States governments love the richness of Latin America, but they don't love its people.
Y parece que se está cumpliendo.
And I feel like that saying is coming true.
si hacemos un poco memoria histórica y nos vamos a la ejecución de políticas invasoras también a través de empresas que no buscan el desarrollo de los pueblos, sino sacar la riqueza naturales de estos países.
If we look back with a historical memory lens, and we see a whole pattern of invasions, including invasions by companies that didn't try to build economic systems to benefit the people, but instead were extracting the richness from these countries.
Nuestros pueblos no son pobres. Nuestros pueblos están siendo empobrecidos por estos intereses de unos cuantos.
Our countries are not poor. They are being impoverished by the interests of this elite, small group of economic elites.
La misma violencia, el crimen organizado que está controlando a estos países donde pareciera que no hay ley más que la de estas bandas criminales, son las que están orillando, impulsando, sacando a esta gente de sus tierras, de sus pueblos.
This is intimately connected to the violence, the organized crime that is causing people to have to leave their homes.
Esa es la causa. Esa es la razón del por qué están saliendo todos los días miles de gentes de estos pueblos centroamericanos.
These are the reasons, the real reasons why thousands of people are leaving every day from Central American countries.
Y también mexicanos.
And Mexicans as well.
Esto preocupa y duele mucho.
This worries us and it causes us a lot of pain.
En los albergues en donde los atendemos, nos cuentan sus historias.
In the shelters where we attend to these populations, they tell us their stories.
Y hay mucho dolor,
And there's a lot of pain,
mucho sufrimiento,
a lot of suffering,
porque son arrancados de su propio pueblo, de sus propias tierras, para que lleguen empresas grandes y se instalen ahí.
where people tell of being torn up by the roots from their communities, away from their lands, so that large companies can make use of those lands.
Ustedes escucharon hace unos meses que en México el país se paralizó por un problema, a ver si me entienden la palabra, huachicolero. Extraen estas empresas criminales el petróleo ilegalmente.
So you may have heard in the news, maybe not, that a few weeks ago, Mexico was paralyzed by a problem that is essentially about crime groups that were illegally extracting gasoline from the petroleum lines.
Sí lo escucharon,
Sí.
lo vieron en la tele. Y el país, el gobierno nos lo paralizó. No había gasolina.
So there just wasn't gasoline anywhere. Basically, the country kind of came to a halt.
Cuando levanta este control de gasolina, otro día aparecen ya no las gasolineras donde decía Pemex, sino eran empresas americanas quien controla ya el petróleo de México.
So as the country came out of that crisis, from one day to the next, Pemex, which is the national petroleum company in Mexico, nationalized petroleum, disappeared from many of the gas stations, and now those gas stations have the names of American companies on them.
Muchas empresas con nombres norteamericanos. Esas son las maneras de ir invadiendo y quitando las pocas riquezas que nos quedan.
So it's just another example of invading, a different way of invading, to take away the very few economic resources that are left.
Yo sé que el corazón de los norteamericanos no son como de repente son los de nuestros gobiernos.
I know that the hearts of most Americans are not the way our governments are, are not the way our governments are acting.
Y esa es la esperanza que tenemos de que va a surgir, aún con todo esto tan difícil, una humanidad nueva.
And that's our hope. The hope is that even with everything that's happening right now, we will be able to, that a new humanity will rise up.
Yo no sé cuándo, yo no sé cómo, pero las cosas tienen que cambiar.
I don't know how and I don't know when, but things have to change.
Y nosotras tenemos que ser la diferencia
And we have to be the ones that make that difference.
y provocar este cambio.
And we have to drive that change.
Por eso estamos aquí, por eso estoy aquí, para que ustedes escuchen el sufrir, el dolor de esta gente que deja sus tierras no porque quiere, sino porque es obligado por la miseria, por la violencia, a dejar sus países.
So that's why I'm here. I'm here because I need you to listen, to hear the pain that people are feeling who leave their countries not because they want to, but because they're obliged to do so.
Porque de repente lo que nos cuentan los medios, la televisión, aunque aquí tenemos una, pero lo que nos cuentan las televisoras, lo que nos cuentan los medios de comunicación, no siempre es la verdad, o nos la cuentan como ellos quieren.
So what we see on TV often, although we do have a TV station here, but what we often see on TV are images that are messages that are not true, or that are being told in a way that paints a picture they want us to see.
Porque muchas veces los medios de comunicación social, no todos, aclarando, no todos, pero están al servicio de los poderosos.
Because many times media are, and not all, I make that clear, but much of the media is in fact in the service of powerful interests.
Ustedes son miembros de una iglesia católica, donde el mensaje de Jesús es hacia la opción preferencial por los pobres.
You all are members of a Catholic church which gives priority and tells us to focus on the poor.
Y el Papa Francisco, también jesuita,
And Pope Francis, also a Jesuit,
dicen que es un defecto ser jesuita. Nos invita, nos está llamando a que seamos iglesias de salida.
Pope Francis is inviting us to be churches that reach outward.
que no nos encerremos en nuestros templos,
that we don't lock ourselves,
los límites,
that we go to the borders, we push ourselves to the limits, and we go on the road.
no es ahora que venga la gente a nuestros templos, sino nosotros, ustedes, salir al camino, a las casas, interesarte por los demás, ayudar a los demás, que a lo mejor no vienen a nuestros templos, pero que están ahí esperándonos.
This is not about inviting people into our churches now. We must go out and be with them. We must be out on the road walking with them. And maybe they will never come into our church. So we need to go out and be with the people.
Y que cada uno desde donde está, desde su trabajo, desde sus hogares, vayamos construyendo estas redes, estas comunidades vivas, donde todos tengan cabida.
And what we need to do is to go out and build, each and every one of us, from wherever we are, in our houses, in our parishes, in our work, and start to build the networks of support that can welcome people.
Y empezar a construir, a proponer, incluso, ¿por qué no?, exigir a nuestros gobiernos que sean más humanos.
And we need to be proposing, we need to be insisting, and why not, we need to be demanding that our governments have more humane policies.
Que nuestras leyes sean más inclusivas
That our laws become more inclusive.
y no separar al diferente.
And not pushing away the other.
Ante los ojos de Dios, todos somos iguales.
In the eyes of God, we are all equal.
Pablo decía, aquí no hay gentiles, no hay judíos, no hay romanos, no hay, todos somos hijos de Dios.
Paul tells us that all of us are children of God.
¿Por qué no decirlo de Estados Unidos?
Why not say that of the United States?
Aquí no hay salvadoreños, no hay hondureños, no hay mexicanos, no hay rusos, no hay polacos, no hay afroamericanos, no hay.
Why not say that here in the United States? We're not dividing people into categories: Salvadorans, Mexicans, Polish, Russians, African Americans.
Y esta es la invitación, a comenzar a construir reino, a vivir más de acuerdo al Evangelio, donde todos tengamos un lugar.
So that the invitation is to become a part of the construction of the kingdom of God, to do as our Savior told us, to be part of building a new society.
Gracias.
So she'll take questions if people have questions or want.
I have a question. First of all, thank you for coming, and I want to say I just apologize for some of the dishonesty and what's being done in this day and age toward immigrants, and it breaks my heart, and a lot of Americans, like you say. But my question is this what we're seeing from the USA at the border, is this a lot different than it's been in the past? I know I'm reading about how they're trying to almost close the border and demonize these people. Is that relatively new? Have we been a more welcoming country prior to the last year or two?
Yo diría que no hay mucha diferencia. Las formas van cambiando, pero Estados Unidos ciertamente ha sido un pueblo acogedor y vemos el universo metido dentro de Estados Unidos.
I would say there's not much difference. It is certainly true that the United States has been a welcoming place by moments. You can look around and see the diversity of people who have come to this country.
A través de la historia, ustedes la saben, la conocen, Estados Unidos ha acogido a muchos pueblos, muchas razas.
Throughout its longer history, the United States has taken in lots of different kinds of people from many different places.
Pero es su gente, no todos sus gobiernos.
But that's been the people of the United States and not all of its governments.
Yo no quiero decir también una frase, porque no lo creo, de que cada país tenemos el gobierno que nos merecemos.
Some people will say, and I don't believe this, but some people will say every country has the government it deserves.
Pero sí tenemos una responsabilidad muy grande
But we do have a responsibility, a big one,
de impulsar, de no solo votar por nuestro presidente, sino vigilar, exigir y plantarnos para que nuestras leyes, nuestras formas de organizarnos sea para acoger más y no hacer tanta o tan marcada la diferencia.
we do have this. Our responsibility as civic actors goes beyond just voting for president. We need to be keeping an eye on what our leaders are doing. We need to be monitoring. We need to be holding them accountable. We need to be standing up together when things are happening that are not right.
Y aquí están los blancos, aquí están los morenos y acá están los negros.
And we need to keep them from dividing us, putting whites, blacks, Hispanics in chunks.
Sino todos sentados en una misma
We
mesa.
have to be together and sitting at the same table.
I understand that recently, I understand first of all that your president of Mexico is somewhat progressive, but that he has been forced, but my words, to close down the border from the Mexican side. I'm wondering if there's any pushback from the Mexican people, but I also want to say to us here in the United States that not only do we have to assure that people are treated humanely at the border, but we need to assure that our government is doing policies to those, especially those Central American countries, that build them up so that people don't have to escape and travel to leave their homes.
Totalmente de acuerdo.
He says, yes. You're right, you got it.
Yo voté por López Obrador
I voted for López Obrador
porque creí, porque pensé que iba a ser la diferencia
because I believed he was going to make a difference.
después de unos periodos largos de gobiernos opresores vendidos, corruptos.
After a long time of sellout, corrupt, oppressive governments in Mexico.
También sé que la presión que ejerce Estados Unidos, el gobierno de Estados Unidos, a México y estos países centroamericanos es muy grande, es muy fuerte.
And I also recognize that the pressure that the United States is able to bring to bear against Mexico and Central American countries is very powerful.
Hay otro dicho que dice que pobre de México, tan lejos de Dios y tan cerca de los Estados Unidos.
Another old saying says, "Ah, poor Mexico, so far from God, so close to the United States."
Yo quiero mucho a Estados Unidos.
I love the United States.
Yo quiero mucho a su gente.
I love and care for its people.
Mi familia toda vive aquí.
My family lives here.
Yo soy la única que vive en México.
I'm the only one that lives in Mexico.
Y le agradezco a Estados Unidos que tenga mi familia aquí.
And I give thanks to the United States for having my family be here.
Pero no podemos dejar de ver que siendo un país fuerte, haga sentir su fuerza, su poder en países donde tampoco justifico a nuestros gobiernos que no han sabido gobernar para todos, solo para unos cuantos.
So it's important to recognize that this is a very powerful country that is able to exercise a lot of power in the region. But that is not to justify the governments of the countries which have also not been able to govern in favor of the majority of the people, rather only respond to the interests of a few.
El que tiene más, hay que ayudar a los que tienen menos. Eso es el Evangelio.
The one who has more needs to help the one who has less. That's what we're taught.
No aprovecharse para quitarle lo poco que tiene y engrandecer su riqueza.
Not take away the little that people have in order to become even more wealthy.
Eso no es Evangelio.
That is not the word of the Lord.
No es. Esa es la diferencia. Pero yo quiero mucho a los norteamericanos.
But I love the people of this country.
No estoy en contra
I'm not opposed
del pueblo norteamericano.
to the American people.
Sí de las formas injustas que ejerce sobre países más débiles.
But I am opposed to the way that force is exerted against weaker countries.
Si se invirtiera más la riqueza de Estados Unidos para el progreso de estos pueblos, educación, salud, oportunidades de trabajo, nuestra gente no tendría por qué venirse.
If more of the United States wealth were being invested in the things that these countries really need, education, health, decent work opportunities, then people wouldn't have to leave.
Pero lo invierte en armamento,
But it's instead, the U.S. spends on arms,
en militar fronteras,
on militarizing the borders.
Aquí actualmente lo que está sucediendo es los centros de detención los está convirtiendo en empresas privadas.
Detention centers that are being run by private enterprises.
Que son cárceles.
These are prisons.
Ahí sí les invierten dinero.
That's where the money is going.
Y eso es lo injusto.
And that's the injustice.
I thought I heard you say at the beginning something about United Nations was taking over the responsibility of immigration in Mexico. So could you say something more about that?
Sí, porque son quienes están deportando a los hermanos centroamericanos. No lo está haciendo el Instituto de Migración, que recoge a los hermanos migrantes y los saca, sino las grandes naciones, y entre ellos Estados Unidos, le está dando dinero a la OIM para que ella, esta organización, haga el trabajo y deporte.
So the Mexican National Institute, rather than deporting people from the northern border, is relying on the services of the IOM, which is getting contracts from the United States and other developed countries to return people to their countries.
What is the IOM?
IOM is the International Organization of Migration. It is a quasi-United Nations entity, but it actually takes government contracts directly.
Estas organizaciones
We'll talk more about IOM.
internacionales como la OIM, la ACNUR, de ayuda a los refugiados de la ONU, hacían un papel de coadyuvancia entre la sociedad y el gobierno.
These big international agencies, like the International Organization on Migration, and including the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, are supposed to be playing kind of a bridging role between the civil society and the governments.
Ahora no, ahora están al servicio de quien les da dinero. Por ejemplo, al ACNUR le está dando también Estados Unidos mucho dinero para detener a la gente en México.
And so that role that they used to play they are now no longer playing. They are now really much more at the service of the countries that are providing resources to them. And so an example of this is that the UN High Commissioner for Refugees is now, because it's been getting resources from the US, is keeping people in Mexico, keeping people from coming, essentially running the camps that are basically de facto refugee camps.
Por eso no pueden pasar
And
a los Estados Unidos.
that's why they are not coming across the border, because they're being detained essentially in these camps.
Y también le está dando dinero al gobierno de México para que se los tenga ahí.
And of course, the US is also giving Mexico money to try to keep people.
Sabiendo que México no tiene las condiciones necesarias para atender estos flujos masivos.
Knowing that Mexico at the moment does not have the ability to deal appropriately with these flows.
Y además ni quieren quedarse en México.
And the truth is, they don't want to stay in Mexico.
Ellos quieren venir
They
aquí.
want to come here.
This is very bleak. It's a horrible picture, and it's something that we're very well aware of. My question is, what is her hope for the future? You know, what is the hope? Is there change?
La esperanza
We are the hope.
Esta es la esperanza. Ustedes, nosotros, somos la esperanza. Yo no creo que ustedes esperen mucho de Donald Trump.
I don't think you all are hoping for a lot out of Donald Trump. So the hope is us.
Her hope. Yo, la mía. Me pregunta de mi esperanza. Es este trabajo que hemos emprendido en México de redes que van más allá de México.
So my hope has to do with this work we've gotten started in networks in Mexico.
Conectarnos con Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, el sur.
Connecting with Guatemala, with El Salvador, with Honduras, with Nicaragua,
Y acá
and here.
hay que trabajar.
We have to work in network.
Y Cristo.
And Christ.
Well, just could you talk a little bit about the role of the bishops? Many of us here are from Catholic parishes. Just could you talk a little bit about the hierarchy in this process? Now, I heard a little bit about this earlier, but I think it's an interesting story.
También son nuestra esperanza.
They're also our hope, the bishops.
Comentaba un poco el trabajo que también estamos haciendo de invitar a nuestros obispos a trabajar.
I spoke a little earlier about work we're also doing, which is inviting our bishops to work.
A lo mejor el de ustedes sí trabaja.
Maybe your bishop does already.
Pero los nuestros no trabajaban mucho.
But ours weren't doing much. They weren't doing a lot of work.
Cuando nos llegó la primera caravana en octubre, más o menos los que estaban llegando ahí a la Ciudad de México eran entre 7,000 y 10,000 personas.
When the first caravan came, we knew, because we've been monitoring, that about 7,000 to 10,000 people were set to arrive in Mexico City.
Ahí en la Ciudad de México. Nosotros buscamos articularnos y saber lo que estaba preparando el gobierno de la Ciudad de México para recibir a estas caravanas.
We came together and we tried to figure out what it was that the government was preparing for these folks.
Y ellos nos dijeron que no nos preocupáramos, que todo estaba listo, que ellos ya tenían todo preparado para recibirnos.
And the government said, don't worry, everything's fine, we've got it all under control, we're ready.
Y no era así.
And it was not true.
Fuimos al lugar donde habían dicho que los iban a recibir y estaba vacío.
We went to the place that they had told us they were ready to receive people, and it was empty.
Y las personas ya estaban llegando.
And people were already arriving.
Y les dije que entonces si ellos no lo iban a hacer, que se apartaran y que nos dejaran.
And I said, look, if you're not going to do what needs to be done, please move out of the way so that we can do it.
Hacerlo nosotros. Yo le llamé al secretario de la Conferencia Episcopal de México.
I spoke to the secretary of the Mexican Council of Bishops.
Le dije, Monseñor, convóquenos, porque no hay nada.
And I said, Monsignor, you need to bring us together, you need to convene us because there's nothing there.
Y la gente ya está llegando.
And people are already coming.
Mucho frío, mucha lluvia,
It was raining, it was cold,
la gente muy enferma,
people were coming very sick.
mujeres a punto de dar a luz,
We had women that were about to give birth,
niños con neumonía.
children with pneumonia.
Y le dije,
I
convóquenos,
said, bring us together,
porque
convene.
esto es muy grande.
This is very, very big.
Y me dijo, yo no sé. Le dije, usted convóquenos y nosotros sí sabemos.
And he said, I don't know how to do that. And I said, you bring us together, we know how to do it.
Y nos hizo caso, nos convocó.
And he listened,
Y organizamos todo.
and we were able to organize everything.
Estuvimos atendiendo 10, 12 días de darles alimento, salud, ropa, espacios para niños, atender mujeres embarazadas, atendiendo especialmente a los niños y a los adolescentes que venían solos.
For 12 solid days with 10,000 people, we were able to provide food, medicine, clothing. We had special attention for pregnant women, for children, spaces for children, and with a special focus on children traveling alone.
Y le dije, pero venga usted también aquí.
And then I called the Monsignor again and I said, but you know, you need to come here.
Y ahí estuvo,
And he came.
hasta se enfermó
He even got sick.
de neumonía
He
también,
ended up with pneumonia.
pero ahí estuvo.
But he came.
También. Y pasó el tiempo y me habla por teléfono y me dijo, te quiero agradecer
So after a couple weeks, he calls me on the phone and he says, I want to thank you.
porque yo no convoqué, ustedes me convocaron a mí.
Because I didn't convene you, you convened me.
Dice, y ahí en el Palillo, que es el estadio donde atendimos a la gente, empezó mi conversión.
And there in the Palillo, in the stadium where all those people were staying, was the beginning of my conversion.
Entonces, si se puede.
So you can do it.
Y esa es la esperanza.
And that gives me hope.
Inviten a su obispo, inviten a sus párrocos
Invite your priests, invite your bishops,
y verán que sí se convierten.
and you can see that maybe they will be converted.
It may be obvious, but who helped with all of the services as well as the organization? Was it the people of the city?
A mí me tocó convocar iglesias, universidades, vida consagrada, parroquias. Fueron los que sostuvieron y seguimos sosteniendo estos flujos que no paran.
It was religious orders, churches, parishes, universities, and she's saying I was able to bring many of those people together and continue. Those are the groups that continue to sustain this work over time.
Gente con sus camionetas que empezaron a adelantar a la gente.
People that would take their own trucks and just help people move along the route
Hasta llegar a la frontera.
all the way to the border.
Y ahí siguen.
And they continue doing that. Just people.
From what I read, there's been a big increase in the number of people coming to the border recently. And you mentioned there's two groups, the ones that normally come and then the caravans. So my question is it true that this has just recently increased, and why, from your perspective and what you see, why is this happening? What is causing it?
No, el incremento ya estaba,
The increase was already happening.
había mucha gente esperando pasar.
The problem is that there were already many people waiting to cross.
Claro que con el éxodo, los éxodos y los grupos pequeños que van llegando, esto se incrementó muchísimo.
So, por el corte.
Por
So the
el
change is the closure, not the number of people.
Sí.
Okay, the close.
And wasn't it that people heard that maybe the border would be permanently closed, and so therefore they hurried and came and...
por la causa. No, no. La gente sigue saliendo.
And people just keep coming.
Aunque nosotros en los albergues les decimos, no sigas, no te vayas, allá está difícil, pero tampoco los podemos obligar a quedarse.
So in the shelters, we might say to people, don't continue, it's very, very difficult on the border, stay here, but we're not going to obligate them, we're not going to obligate them to stay if they need to go.
Y hay una razón. El crimen organizado, desde sus países de origen, los vienen persiguiendo. ¿Sí? Y los encuentran en México.
And part of the reason is that the organized crime rings from their countries of origin are following them. And sometimes they're following them as far as Mexico City, so they feel the need to keep moving.
Por eso no se quieren quedar también.
A lot can be blamed on the U.S., but apart from that, what about the governments, authoritarian governments in Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador? To what extent do you consider that a part of the problem?
Sí, pero estos gobiernos son títeres.
But in many cases, those governments are puppets.
Hay un silencio. Los gobiernos centroamericanos son impuestos. Honduras, un gobierno impuesto, un gobierno puesto por los poderosos.
Honduras is a classic example of a government that was imposed, a government that was put into power by the powers that be.
Es un silencio no inocente.
These governments are remaining largely silent on these issues, and it's not an innocent silence.
Es un silencio cómplice.
It's a complicit silence.
Mucho que hacer. Mucho que hacer.
Hermana, gracias por venir. Conocimos a un hogar refugio en el sur de México, en Tabasco, en el estado de Tabasco.
En
La
Tenosique,
72.
La 72.
Y conocimos que hay muchas amenazas a la gente que están trabajando. ¿Puede decir cómo es que paramilitares o qué pasa con este? ¿Y ustedes tienen este mismo peligro allá en el Distrito Federal?
Sí.
He's asking about risks to human rights defenders based on the case of the Tenosique shelter in 72. So.
Sí, la criminalización de estos discursos que yo les decía de los gobiernos, de que nosotros protegemos a criminales.
The discourse that's moving around in our countries and in the media that criminalizes both migrants and those who work with migrants as people who are helping criminals.
De ahí se agarra el gobierno para perseguirnos.
That's what the government, that's the pretext the government's used to persecute us.
Y por otra parte, la amenaza siempre latente del mismo crimen organizado.
And at the same time, there's a constant underlying permanent threat from organized crime.
¿Saben cuánto cuesta un migrante para cruzar México?
Do you know how much it costs to move a migrant across Mexico?
$8,000, $12,000.
$8,000 to $10,000.
Si nosotros los protegemos, nos convertimos en enemigos del crimen organizado.
If we protect people, we then become the enemies of the organized crime.
Y por eso también nos amenazan de muerte.
So they also have threatened us with death.
Who tastes that money? It costs that much, but.
El coyote, el crimen.
Oh, it's.
No, yo no.
So they're middleman and.
Yeah, so she's talking about if you're gonna move somebody across Mexico, what you do, you find a guy and you pay that guy an amount of money, and that guy pays off the
Only
police.
that they could
He
cross.
pays off the police, and he pays off the migration authorities, and he pays off the crime boss, and he
In the
pays
hope
off
that they can
the
cross.
driver, and yeah.
Nosotros hemos tomado para proteger a los niños y a los adolescentes no acompañados. Porque estos niños, estos adolescentes son una, ¿cómo puedo decirles? Una fuente de riqueza para el crimen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so young kids and adolescents have become a real source of income for organized crime.
Estos niños son utilizados para el tráfico de personas, tráfico de órganos, pornografía infantil, trata de personas, ¿sí?
Kids are being used for child pornography, for trafficking, for organ trafficking.
Y los sacan de sus comunidades en camiones grandes.
And they are being moved from their communities, in some cases, in big buses.
Cuando son liberados por la policía o por la marina, me los llevan a mí.
When they are freed by the Navy or by the Marines, then they bring them to Cafemín.
Y hemos tenido casos que gente de los cárteles llegan a Cafemín haciéndose pasar por deportados, por migrantes, pero es miembros de estos cárteles.
We've even had cases of people from the Gulf Cartel coming to Cafemín pretending to be people who were deported so that they could stay there. Well, what they wanted is to get their hands on the children.
Y poder llevárselos otra vez.
We're gonna have, let's say, one more question. And in the meantime, these beautiful canastas are gonna go around. If you would like to make a free will donation, I think, did you pass out envelopes
I
already?
had the envelopes, but I never didn't. We got so immersed in talking that I failed to
Somebody
pass
help.
them.
Yeah. If you wanna, how's it work? Why should people put it in the envelopes?
Okay,
instead
so
of-
here's the thing. So what
But
we're
there will
doing.
be another question. Okay, go ahead.
What we're doing at Alianza Americas, we organized this tour for Sister Magda because we know that it's urgent to move resources to her organization and to the shelter network. So what we are doing at Alianza Americas with this fundraiser is that this fundraiser is going 100% directly to Cafemín. Because that just seems like the right thing to do right now. But if you sign your name up, we'll also keep you on our lists of people that we'll write to and invite to things and hope to stay in touch with you. Because as Alianza Americas, we also have, other work that we do in the Midwest, and we would love to be in touch with all you wonderful people. But the donations for this, the reason to put your name on the envelope, it would be either because you want me to write you an email, or because you want a tax receipt. Either of those two.
All right, so while that's happening, let's see, there was another question out here somewhere.
I think that, well, with what's going on in terms of policies and all that about immigration, I don't think there's a quick fix to this, because I don't think these 10,000s of people will be allowed in, not 10, not hundreds, not even one probably. So what is the immediate need and action that need to be done to these people? Because no way, no how will they be allowed in. And meantime, they're just staying much longer in these prisons, in this, in this such sad state. I mean, what do we do? Pray.
No.
Do something.
Well, I mean, it just started in.
Yo creo que cada quien, desde donde está y se sienta llamada a ejercer acciones, es lo más rápido. Preguntarme, ¿qué puedo hacer yo? ¿Qué puedo hacer yo?
Everybody from wherever they are sitting, who's feeling the call to do something, needs to ask themselves, what can I do?
Sabemos que es un problema muy complejo. No es fácil de la noche a la mañana resolver esto. Pero a mediano plazo, lo primero es a qué me siento llamada yo y dar una respuesta.
The first thing to do, immediate thing to do, is to say, what am I called to do in response?
Segundo,
Second,
a mediano plazo, ¿qué puedo hacer yo junto con todos y exigir leyes más justas?
and then it's what can I do in collaboration with those people around me to demand laws that are more just?
Organizarnos, organizarnos y pensar a quiénes van a ser nuestros gobiernos. ¿Por quién voto? ¿A quién le doy mi voto?
And then try to think, who do we want to be our governments representing us? Who do I give my vote, my message?
Ustedes lo están viviendo.
You're living in the middle of this.
Es lo que podemos hacer, poco a poco,
Little by little.
pero seguros.
But step by step, we can move.
Y empezar a hacer conciencia en toda la comunidad.
And try to raise awareness everywhere in the community, outside of this room.
Porque uno solo no puede. Tenemos que ser todos.
By ourselves, one by one, we can't. We really have to be working together.
Tenemos que cambiar un mundo y no es nada fácil,
We have to change the world, and it's not easy.
pero hay que empezar.
But we have to start.
Just a couple of things, there's people here that are from churches, or one thing that people have done is they've started circles of support, whereas Lori Green helped start one at St. Regis, and then Elena found out about that, and now you're totally involved at a school where over half the kids are children of undocumented, tremendous pressure. So it was by starting a small group, Cesar and Carmen did the same thing. So there are people that will help you start a circle of support in your parish, or in your fraternity, or at your school. And I think tomorrow morning, there's groups of immigrants that are beginning to form circles that are going to be part of our circles, part of Strangers No Longer. So I think that's
I
what
think the
it
idea of
is.
circles of support is a very powerful one, and that's actually something that we've been working on with our members in various different cities around the country. Because circles of support are things you can do even if you live in some place that you don't think is super progressive, right? I mean, it's something that you can do with a small group of people. You can go to a school board and see what the school board can do to make their schools places of safety for people. You can talk to local officials about how in the localities can be made places that are safer for people. You know, if we can't change every policy at the top, we can at least try to make the places where we are places that are more welcoming and more supportive of people. And that kind of thing is happening, and it's happening in Georgia, and it's happening in North Carolina, and it's not just happening in, California and New York, right? It's happening all over the country in various different ways, and that's actually something we work on a lot. We have a program called TPS House to House, which is a temporary protected status. Many of you have heard of temporary protected status, but that's something that about 350,000 Hondurans, Salvadorans, and Haitians in this country have. It was awarded to them after hurricanes and natural disasters in the region decades ago. They've been here for 20 years, many of them renewing every 18 months that status. Those programs were canceled by the Trump administration, so that's a whole other population of people who are at risk right now. Those programs right now are stopped in the courts. The implementation of the cancellation is stopped in the courts, basically because the president said it in such a way that made it so obviously that it was racist that it was probably anti-constitutional, but we can't count on that being the solution, right? And so that's 350,000 people that in many cases, that could be coming out of status. People with deferred enforced departure, which I believe Michigan has a bunch of, right? Because you've got Liberians, you've got others, Sudanese. So there are people living in Michigan, for example, who are at need of protection now. Right? They either are undocumented or they're with humanitarian protections that are getting canceled. So those are things that can be done, right away. And once we have those circles of protection, because some of these people are going to come out of detention, some of these asylum seekers are going to come out of detention, and they're going to need a place to be permanently with their families, because some of them are in fact going to get asylum. We have not completely dismantled our constitutional system yet. So, being prepared also to welcome people that do make it and their families is another thing to really be thinking about.
Bill,
Okay, so,
you put out a call for drivers.
yeah.
Can you mention that?
Okay, so those that are already on the street no longer, a couple of people here tonight said that they'd be willing to be a driver, not on call 24/7, but, so I'll put that out again to everybody on our mailing list. Tonight, two people tonight have said they're willing to be drivers, Alex. Okay, next time.
Sounds good.
All right. A couple of things before June is going to lead us in a prayer, but a couple of things. First, there's a couple of organizations that came in a little bit late after introductions. So, Alex, where are you from?
Detroit Mercy School of Law, the Immigration Clinic, thank you for all your support. I had so many people reach out to me when we put out a call for drivers the other day.
Oh, too many people. Oh,
No, it was fantastic.
Detroit, go ahead. Where are you from? Married, Detroit Bars?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Please stand.
I'm actually from Our Mother Perpetual Help in Ferndale and Oak Park, and we do have a circle of support. And I also am with the Detroit Bar Association that does a lot of pro bono work in the context of immigration.
Okay, thank you. And then University of Detroit student and faculty, Gail, where are you from? What are you studying?
Studying social work. I'm vice president of our Student Social Work Association. We actually work with Freedom House. People who seek asylum, who need assistance, we do drives for them. I'm just here for insight.
Great. And Gail, what do you do?
I'm director of Carney Latin American Solidarity Archive, so I put on peace and justice programming that focuses on Latin American issues among other things.
And tomorrow, plug your event tomorrow.
And Bill Hickey has an announcement about Bill.
So Craig had to leave from Channel 7. I know we are all glued to the nightly news every night. But tonight he said at 7, Channel 7 at 11 p.m., TV 20 at 10 p.m., and Fox 2 at both 10 and 11. You'll see a report about this again.
Wow. Thank you. So let's, first of all, 2 rounds of applause, okay? First of all, come again. Come again. And let's all stand. Jude's going to lead us in prayer. Grab a hand.
Bill volunteered me, and we'll do a simple prayer. Be our Father,
Oración de nuestro Padre.
Oh, hold on. June and others are taking Spanish classes from Carmen. If you want to learn Spanish, do what June did. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Our Father,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, now and forever. Amen. Nice meeting